This is my final creative project. I did a costume design for the play A Midsummer Night's Dream. My first costume rendering is for the character Puck. He is arguably one of the most important characters in the play. His mischievous nature is responsible for many of the events within the play. The fairies are said to be beautiful, however, Puck is really often portrayed as a little bit odd looking compared to the other fairies. I wanted this to play a role in his costume design, however, I think his odd appearance is probably better achieved through the casting of the actor than his costume design. As such, I wanted his costume to be elegant enough to be representative of his fairy world, while still being simple enough to not be as beautiful as the other fairies in the play. The purple flower on his shoulder is designed as a large clasp. I chose the color because it is a bold and eye-catching color and really reminds me of the stereotypical fairy garb. The flower clasp holds together a green toga-like garment that is supposed to be loose and flowy. These are the only two elements of his costume, but I think that the simplicity really works well to separate him not only from the human cast, but the other fairy cast as well. The next rendering I did is for the Fairy King Oberon. I wanted to give him a costume fit for the Fairy King. So working off Puck's costume that was simple, and I decided to also make Oberon's costume rather simple while adding some elements to give him a powerful king-like presence. When I read the play, I envisioned the fairies almost similar to the elves in The Lord of the Rings. I'm not sure why I really made this connection, but Oberon's costume has elements that were inspired by the earthy, simple elegance of the elven people from The Lord of the Rings. His crown is all gold and smooth, with a single red ruby on the forehead. I didn't want to make a traditional crown with tons of peaks and jewels on it as I interpret the fairies as having more of an elegant beauty. His robe is worn over the shoulders, which is more traditional for a king. The collar is made up of large leaves, and the trim down the front is made up of a gold rope. The leaves are a play off of traditional portrayals of fairy costume that utilize leaves and other earthy elements. The robe is to be worn shirtless with some tight green pants that end just below the knees. The last rendering I created is for the character Bottom. Really, Bottom's costume is probably one of the most important in the play, as his costume provides much of his comedic value. The comedy that is provided by Bottom's character is a result of his unjustified overconfidence. His character is humorous because Bottom doesn't really realize how ridiculous he actually is. I created Bottom's costume for when Puck transforms his head into a donkey's. This is, in my opinion, the most comical part of the play, so I wanted to create this costume how I envisioned it. The donkey head is large and sits on the shoulders. It is not cartoonish, but instead more lifelike in order to create a more subtle attempt at humor. I don't want the mask itself to be really funny. I want it to be funny that Bottom has the head of a donkey. I think that a mask that is too cartoonish and tries to be funny takes away from the humor and the good writing of the play. His clothing is simple. It's a one-piece canvas-like garment that is cheap and baggy looking. The only thing that really has any color is the gold rope that wraps around his waist, which really creates an even more droopy appearance. I wanted him to look bland and unappealing so that his overconfidence is even more unjustified and humorous. I think that this costume really achieves that.